IG is getting 1 year of suspension and is going to jail for 6 months. I hope that dirt dick ends up rotting in there, but he probably won't. His ass has been a predator for well over 20 years now, and I want him to get more time. I highly doubt this will happen, but if any of the shareholders at YG were like me, I'd take this opportunity, this year-long suspension Yang Hyun Suk is getting, to try and push him out of the company by either buying out and dividing shares, or banding together to demote his position of power of the company like Adore did to Men Hee Jin. With the right mindset, YG as a label, just like SM, could have accomplished what Hybe has in 5 years well over a decade ago. And here's what really irritates me about YG basically getting a slap in the wrist. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this to make light of Bang PD being investigated for fraud again, after being cleared of that late last year, and even the year before that, but the hypocrisy of K-pop fans against everyone that comes from Hybe is seriously so disturbing to me. I don't give a shit if Bang PD goes to jail. That has no effect on my life. It's just I don't like how it's always separate the idol from their company until they come from Hybe. I'm still wondering why the hell did Hybe go through a public audit? Bang PD. And by extension, the women who also work at Hybe get harassed and have their names ran through the mud in comparison to Kakao, SM, YG, and JYP, companies with bodies on top of bodies. Bang PD, a man known for having facial blindness, supposedly not saying hi to NewJeans gets more headlines, then YG being accused of prostituting Jennie with a man who claims to have bared witness to the crime, as if while working for YG Senguri got off basically scot-free for sharing illicit photos of women, prostitution, embezzlement, gambling, and money laundering just didn't happen. And you get called a hater by YG stans if you point out how Baby Monster is being sexualized, and how he shouldn't be allowed to work with minors because that fucking freak admitted to being enamored by his much younger wife when she was just a child, then recruited her, then sabotaged the group she was in because he was afraid of her leaving him one day and started publicly dating her when she was just 20. Where the fuck is YG's audit at? Seriously, where is YG's audit? Why does Yang Hyun Suk a wiener get half a year in jail for threatening to kill someone for going to police about his idols doing drugs, get to sexualize and prey on teenage girls, objectify his adult idols, and waste his idols' potential while K-pop fans are face down ass up pockets, open on their knees ready to accept any old half-assed project that company produces? Oh, Sungri gets to reopen a club, a Burning Sun Part 2, not have his business license revoked, a fan club who will defend him to this day, and a reduced jail sentence from a measly 3 years to just 1, after prostituting women, as well as embezzlement and for the possession and distribution of drug paraphernalia. But Yoongi gets arrested peacefully, interrogated for hours, charged with a DUI, fined 15 million won, or 11,500 USD, gets his license revoked, gets funeral wreaths sent to Hybe, and multiple petitions to have him kicked out of BTS for riding on a scooter after a drink where the only harm caused was him falling over on the sidewalk while making a sharp turn into his apartment lot. Lisa gets to date and sing songs. Even at the Global Citizen Festival, a festival designed in hopes of ending extreme poverty by 2030, about Frederick Arnault, who invests in dealings with Israel, and whose family openly participates in generously donating into Israeli cybersecurity. Do you not see the contradiction? But Yoonjin gets death and rape threats for months for drinking Starbucks during an extremely poorly executed boycott in a country that wasn't even nationally talking about the Palestine and Israel conflict at the time. K-pop fans were not talking about supporting Palestine in droves until Yoonjin and Somi got attacked for drinking it, not because they actually care about Palestinians, but because they were hoping their faves wouldn't be next. That company is producing copy and paste groups who don't have any stage chemistry, debuting idols who clearly aren't ready, debuting Blackaboo after Blackaboo, produce terrible and lazy music with some of the worst K-pop rap I've ever heard, and setting up shitty venues y'all spend thousands of dollars on. And I don't say this in hopes of Hybe idols receiving special treatment, just saying that the crime should fit the punishment, but it doesn't.
Hello?
Riley, is that you? Put your brother on, it's an emergency!
What's the emergency?
I'm in jail!
Don't drop the soap!
It's my belief that anyone who did not understand that B-Lift's comparison of NewJeans to G-Friend was supposed to be ridiculous to prove their point that the comparison of I-Lit to NewJeans is also ridiculous, especially to the point of making claims of plagiarism, are stupid. I used to think people completely devoid of common sense like Kelso from that 70s show were stereotypes depicted in the media for laughs. But no, the more I grow up and the more people I meet, stupid people, genuinely brainless, dull-witted people are very much a thing, and I think this is who continue to defend men Hybe and NewJeans' actions. Their legal positioning is also so incredibly tone-deaf to me. Simply because I haven't heard anyone mention this, I don't think people are looking at their case through the same perspective that I am. Their lawsuits are weighing in on a tipping the scales of what is and isn't plagiarism in K-pop, what is and isn't emulation versus inspiration. When K-pop is literally an industry built off taking from African American culture, aesthetically, musically, and choreographically, and NewJeans and Hybe are no exception. Even down to the trainee system was taken from Motown Records, the first black-owned record label in the US. But NewJeans and Hybe are willing to sue for millions of dollars, willing to subject innocent women and girls to the Korean legal system, and the well-known for being relentless ostracization of K-pop fans in the name of music, concepts, and dance moves they most definitely did not create, and over ideas they most definitely did not come up with but somehow feel entitled to. To me, at least, this is like watching one rich white man feuding with another rich white man over who gets the rights to own the land in Hawaii, or like watching Daniela Bregoli feud with Lee Chae-won over who has the right to be the biggest blackaboo. If NewJeans and Hybe are justified in the things they've done, that means Black Americans are more than justified and have every right to sue them for every dime they ever made as a unit, because their music and concepts are significantly taken from Black culture, and then not even credited to Black Americans. That's why this post I seen a few weeks ago cracked my egg.
NewJeans is probably the best example of Black appreciation in K-pop. They hopped on solo stages in Japan in front of 19,000 people, and 4 out of the 5 members performed R&B songs. Danielle performed TLC, Hani performed Ghost Town DJs, Hey performed SWV, okay hey, and Hey Ran performed The Internet. Just an immaculate collection of Black R&B songs. These are girls who have obviously been influenced by Black culture both in their music and in their style. But do you see how that appreciation transcends just how it's useful for them and their aesthetic? They put a Black person as their main character in a music video. They work with Black producers, including Pharrell, and they're constantly recommending and displaying music by Black people. And that's how easy it is for these acts to show that beyond just what it is for their aesthetic, how they actually appreciate Black culture and the impact that Black culture has had on their music and their success. You'll ask other obviously influenced by Black culture groups to name an artist, to name who they're inspired by, and what will they say? I'm inspired by hip-hop. Girl, what about hip-hop? Who in hip-hop? That's so general and vague. But this is what the bar is when we say that we just don't want our culture being used. If it's really appreciation, then show me. Show me that you actually have some knowledge or some depth about the culture that you were using for your aesthetic. Show it to me. So a K-pop group that is influenced by Black people, pays respect to that influence, and they say no N-word, I know the bar's on the floor, right? So label this, label that, label me as someone who don't care. I'm sticking by them.
NewJeans are somehow the biggest examples of Black appreciation in K-pop, just because they had a Black guy they didn't even cast in a music video, because they like well-known songs that just so happen to be from Black artists, because their concepts are influenced by Black people. They have never even done the bare minimum of acknowledging, and because they've never used the N-word on camera. That makes no sense. They literally only ever credit themselves and Hybe. Where's their knowledge and depth? They've literally done absolutely nothing to prove that they appreciate Black people to be making videos calling them the biggest examples of appreciation for the people and culture in K-pop. And I think it's very easy to understand why there are those who are welcomed not just by individuals but welcomed in the culture, as opposed to those who are not. And it's my interpretation that a lot of Black and specifically African American K-pop fans go into liking groups, understanding that most idols have little to no say in what music they do and what concepts they do, so if aspects of AA culture are in their concepts and discography, then the idols themselves aren't to blame directly. It's not until idols themselves show their prejudice or race-based ignorance that causes discourse. It seems really disrespectful and absolutely dismissive for NewJeans and Hybe to feel like they can accuse anyone or sue anyone for supposedly plagiarizing their version of African American culture appropriation. I do not hate NewJeans. To an extent, I actually feel bad for them because it's my belief that they've ruined the potential they initially had, and there is something kind of tragic about that. And even though I was never personally a fan of NewJeans, having grown up in a society that tried to indoctrinate white superiority over me and my peers, I get a distinct kind of satisfaction from watching the rise in praise and popularity of specifically marginalized racial groups and how they're now prospering in a way that they didn't while I was a child. To me, there's nothing quite like wasted potential. I just object to how NewJeans have gone about handling every single thing they've done during their feud with Hybe for moral and ethical reasons. I object all of it. If Hybe's mistreated you, okay, prove it. Make an example out of them that these companies can't treat people like garbage, but don't bring down other women and girls over ideas your damn self did not even come up with. Out of equal parts spite of Hybe and equal parts empathy, the same empathy I gave Seunghan as a new breeze watching the odds be stacked against him for no sensible reason, I will continue to support Kim Joo-young, I'll it, and Lesser Efim until I'm given reason not to. Mistreatment is a serious accusation that I think y'all are using too loosely when it comes to Manon. I think people are grasping at straws to make her seem like a victim of some kind in every instance they can come up with, either due to their personal bias for her or because she's black, when racism will provide plenty of instances where people will mistreat her, so icons don't have to create problems. Manon hasn't shown up to performances and film schedules, and some of y'all are running with the narrative that she's actually present. They just won't let her participate, and you have no evidence of this. Y'all are dead ass just making shit up. Never mind the fact all of the members have missed activities and appearances for whatever reason at some point in time. Manon has even had to fill in for missing members. Never mind the fact that Manon is the weakest member talent-wise, so she's liable to get criticism to some degree, and she was not the only black woman on Dream Academy, nor the only popular black contestant. Never mind that the Cat's Eye members have talked about how dramatic they made DA seem for views. And never mind the fact that Manon admitted out of her own mouth that she wasn't showing up like she could have, needed to take accountability, and would do her best to better her work. So y'all will boycott Cat's Eye because of Manon's supposed mistreatment, but will excuse them being directly managed by Scooter Braun, a Zionist. They literally go on trips with this man to Disneyland. Do you know how expensive those trips can be for just 2 people, let alone 6? And I don't want to see the excuse that they likely had no choice. If they can miss performances and film schedules, I'm sure they can miss trips with a Zionist. Like, how are these dots connecting? I don't know if icons aren't used to big groups or what, but since articles are man-made, it's very common for the people who write them to make mistakes like getting wrong or incomplete information, leaving out a picture of a member or misspelling names, something like that. The editors have to turn back around and fix. It happens to Hybe, BTS, Twice and a Tease all the time, even to the most popular members. Manon's picture may not have been up with the others in Hybe's original article, but someone did fix it and literally made her the first picture. Was it a big mistake and even unprofessional? Yes. Do I think Manon is being mistreated by Hybe or Geffen because this happened? No. And I think that conclusion is actually irrational based on how common a mistake that is. And Hybe did post her speaking about her Monster High doll on their Instagram page, where more people are likely to see her than on a random web article, just like with the others. The video y'all are trying to say she was excluded from speaking in, first of all, looks like a preview to a behind-the-scenes video, and second of all, Megan spoke about her doll for less than 2 seconds, and Lara spoke about her doll disproportionately more than the rest of the members. With the same line of thinking, Megan is also being mistreated, and Lara is being shown favoritism. Y'all were upset that Manon's face was covered up in their group photo in front of their glossier sign. I think this was a coincidence. Again, they're a big group, and Manon's face in the photo was positioned at the very bottom of the photo they stood in front of. Was it inconsiderate? Yes, but I don't think that Manon's face not being seen in a group photo in front of a billboard she's still on is grounds to accuse anyone of mistreating her, especially when on the exact same day they filmed a TikTok where Manon's face is clearly visible. Y'all were saying she was being mistreated when they had only 2 songs out, which meant they only had 2 dances to do with 6 members. Some of them are bound to be in the back. Not only does Manon start debut, their first song, she's literally the only member you can see. Before the chorus, she gets center time again, and the only members consistently in the front are Megan and Lara. In Touch, she had center time twice, was not hidden at all, and was in the back just as much as the others. Y'all are still saying she doesn't get enough a year later, never mind the fact that she got some of the most center time in Gnarly, their lead single, and with the weakest vocal ability got some of the most lines in Game Boy, M.I.I., Mean Girls, Touch, Debut, and Flame, half their discography so far. Yoonchae is the only one consistently with the least amount of lines. Hybe went above and beyond to make sure Manon could at least compete with the other members of Dream Academy, because even the 12-year-old was vastly more experienced than she was. Hybe were literally flying teachers and coaches out to train her, shipping people out to suit her schedule and nurture her weaknesses because she got sick and was struggling to keep up. When have you ever heard of something like that? Ever. And now all of a sudden they just hate her guts for some reason. Y'all are actively making bigger issues out of things that are purely circumstantial, and I think y'all are actively trying to otherize Manon from the rest of Cat's Eye.
Y'all, why every time I click this button it do something to me and it light my pussy up? What's that about?